Hi, it's Tuesday, March 4th, and we're tracking Tropical Cyclone Alfred off the east coast of Australia. The system has been tracking southeast throughout the Coral Sea for the past week. It is now about to stall off the east coast of Australia as we have high pressure now building directly down south of Alfred. And this is slowing its southeastward progression. It's going to eventually turn the system back towards the west. And the concern now is that we could have some significant impacts here along the southeastern coast of Queensland and northeastern New South Wales as we go throughout the rest of the week. Now, right now, the system is primarily not a tropical cyclone, just given the general definition that we have for tropical cyclones, and that being that you have a well-defined center. Now, Alfred does have that, but you need to have organized convection over that center of circulation. And we really did not have that. The only thunderstorm activity that we have with Alfred is southwest of the center, and this is more baroclinically forced as we have a strong jet stream here just south of the storm. So that's causing this convection to form, and this is likely just not a tropical cyclone at this time. But the system does still have some pretty potent winds surrounding it. This is an ASCAT pass we got not too long ago. Everything in yellow here is category 1 to 2 force on the Australian scale. And down south here, where we have that convection, we have winds closer, creeping towards that category 3 threshold still on the south side of the low. And this general picture is likely to persist over the next several days as the system tracks west. And one reason for that is that as the high pressure system that I mentioned builds down south, the pressure gradient between the center of this high and the center of Alfred is going to result in a pretty beefy south side wind-wise. And you can already see that kind of a profile taking shape in the Saskatchewan Pass. The southern side is much more beefy than the northern side. And this is going to cause problems for the east coast of Australia, as this is going to be a lot of onshore push, trying to push water onto the coast. And that's going to lead to concerns of prolonged storm surge impacts, especially as the system gets closer to landfall sometime on Thursday or Friday. Now you can see the environment is going to not really make the system look like a tropical cyclone. Now, we may see the system try to regain a tropical cyclone status by the time it gets towards the coast, but as of right now, the system is dealing with a lot of dry air and a lot of shear. You can see that on this water vapor imagery. This black coloring directly over where the center is showing you deep layer dry air. So it's not just kept to the low or mid levels, it's throughout most of the atmospheric column. And really, like I mentioned, the only convection we have is baroclinically forced with all this stronger divergence down south of our storm. Now we do have, and I can show you this better if we look at this map from the HAFS model. This is showing you the upper level winds on a map. It's much easier to see than on water vapor imagery right now. We have this upper level trough draped across eastern Australia, and with that is an upper level low. Now, over the next several days, this upper level low is not going to move all too much. And Alfred is going to now begin to move underneath this. And as the system continues to move south underneath of it, you see it leaves all this strong shear. Right now, this is a very strong wind shear impacting this 20 to 30 plus knots of wind shear. And at times, even in this may be a 50, 60 plus knot wind shear impacting our storm directly. But once it couples underneath of this upper level low, the shear drops off drastically. And as it comes west as well, I can show you this here on this sea surface temperature map. Right now, it's sitting in pretty cold waters for a tropical cyclone. Generally, for a cyclone, you want 26 degrees Celsius or warmer. And right now, it doesn't really have that right now. But as it comes towards the coast, we have this tongue of 26 to 27 degree water just off the coast of eastern Australia. And as the system makes its way west, the combination of this and the lighter shear with this upper level low is going to likely allow the system to regain some intensity. And you can see it happen. Now, what happened in this scenario is that you'll get convection blowing up near the center of the system. And you can see what's fascinating about this map is you can see that happen on here. You can see we have this more upper level low look with clockwise spinning in the upper levels. But as that convection gets going, we begin to get more counterclockwise spinning, showing you high pressure development aloft as a direct response of that convection firing. And you can see that red number there begins to decrease as the system comes west, indicating that the convection that is firing here is intensifying the storm a little bit. Now, this won't be a rapid intensification event, but we will likely see the system intensify, perhaps close to category 3 intensity by the time the system comes to the coast. You can see that stronger south side persisting all the way up to the coast, but as it gets right towards landfall, we see more purple colorings in the map show up here. That's more category 3 force on this map, and that is going to cause significant issues because we have already the prolonged onshore flow from the beefy south side. But as the system makes landfall just south of there, that's where the strongest winds are going to be, and that's going to force even more water. And the concern is that the system in most models is coming north of areas like Brisbane in Eastern Australia. And this kind of a push is going to be pushing into bay areas in the city. And alongside that, these sort of barrier islands that we have along this coast. And alongside that, we could also get stronger winds in the metro area, which could cause damage and power outages. And alongside those two impacts, we could also be looking at significant rainfall. And the issue with rainfall as well, you can see here on this GFS forecast, over the next 5 days, a wide region of 200, 300 millimeters of rainfall. It's whatever falls here is probably going to try to come out to the ocean, but it can't really do that because we have that onshore flow. So that's just a recipe for flooding issues along this entire portion of the coast in southeastern Queensland and northeastern New South Wales. So even though the system is not going to be very strong, the point I'm trying to make here is that the system will still have a lot of high impacts. Wind, storm surge, and heavy rainfall, the whole package here, and this is going to likely be a high impact type storm for this coast. Add on the impact, or the fact rather, that we don't really see storms come into this part of the coast that often. Usually, if they come into Eastern Australia, it's way further north, or if they come down the south, they usually recurve out the sea. It's not too common to get a storm like this to where it just directly comes back west into the coast. So everyone here in the cyclone watch, and even areas further inland, west of areas in Brisbane, needs to be paying attention very closely to the system as it comes into the eastern coast. I'll leave a link to the Bureau of Meteorology forecast and their website in the description so you can get uh, coastal hazards, rainfall alerts, and cyclone updates from them. Now you can see in this orange here and yellow coloring, we have a cyclone watch from Sandy Cape down to Grafton. That includes areas like Camp Bryan, Gold Coast, Brisbane, and the Sunshine Coast, and areas all around there. That may get extended further inland as the system comes further west, but the main key message today is being that areas along this coast that usually don't get cyclones are expecting one, and we can expect the full package of impacts, that being heavy rainfall, storm surge, which those two together can likely lead to flooding issues, and alongside that, strong winds, which may be category 2 to category 3 force for some areas along this coast. That's all that I've got for Alfred. Stay safe in Eastern Australia as the system comes in. I'll have more videos throughout the week as the system progresses further west. I want to briefly mention that we are going to be watching the Indian Ocean for more potential development later this week. You can see this outlook from Meteo France has 2 areas of interest with moderate risks of development. The main one I'm paying attention to is near Madagascar. Some models are projecting that we could see something intensifying near northern Madagascar later this week, and we'll keep an eye on this. Nothing imminent right now. There's still a bit of uncertainty on exactly what's going to happen with the system, which is usual for a system that hasn't formed yet. But just be aware in northern Madagascar that you could potentially be dealing with some tropical impacts later this week from a system that could form here as seen on the outlook. The other area of interest is way out to sea, and it's forecast to impact nobody in the next week. If it becomes any threat later in the line further west, we'll talk about that when we get there, but no point speculating over a week out on potential impacts from the system that has not even formed. That's all that I've got for today. Again, I'll leave links to the Bureau of Meteorology website and forecasts at the top of the description so you can get the latest information you need ahead of Alfred. And like I mentioned, I'll have more videos throughout this week as the system continues tracking west. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.